Oh man, here we go again. Listen, I said this before to my audience, and many people questioned me when I said, when my teenagers are in the house, I sleep with my bedroom door locked and my gun close by. No drama in my house or anything, just me being cautious. Why? Because I've seen this situation happen way too many times. You don't know what's in the heart and mind of another human being. Teenagers, especially today's teenagers. See, back in the day when we were growing up, and I'm not even old. Back in the day when we were growing up, I'm growing up in the 90s. So I became of mid teenage years to adult years in the early 2000s, right? Now, we weren't the type of people to disrespect our elders, and definitely weren't the type to think about killing them in their homes because they took away some of our privileges or because they demanded certain things from us, right? Well, damn it, man. You see, you got to be careful. You have one life that God gave you to live. This one life. And there's nothing you can do once that one life is taken away. You know, here's one of the stories that validates why I move the way I move. So a tragic double murder story has now rocked the Middleburg community in Florida early Monday morning after police here said that a 14-year-old boy shot and killed both his parents during a domestic dispute. You know, you argue with your children, right? And they're trying to exercise their own authority because they are becoming of age where they start to challenge your house rules and stuff. It might be an argument over curfew. Dad, can I go to Melissa's party? Melissa's party? Where's Melissa's party? Well, it's across town. Okay, how are you going to get there? uh, my friends are coming to pick me up. And you say, no, I don't want your friends to pick you up. I'll drop you there. That way I know where you're at and I'll pick you up when it's over. And then there goes an argument. I don't want you dropping me at no party. I want to ride with my friends. And I'm old enough to do it. I'm 16. Why I can't do it by myself? Or I'm 14. Why my curfew has to be, why do I even have a curfew? And now you're in an argument with a teenager as to why you don't want them marching in and out of your house at all hours of the night or morning. And some of these teenagers will lose their shit and end up overwhelmed with emotions, make erratic decisions like these that will sit them in prison for probably the rest of their lives, and left in a world with no parents to continue to raise or care for them. But they don't have the foresight to see so far ahead. They are impulsive naturally because this is how human development works. The frontal lobe of the mind is not fully developed until a human being is past 25 years old. This is the reason why the elders say if you are not past 25, you are still a baby. Once you pass 25, you hit 26, they say you are just becoming an adult. Wow. So the Clayton County Sheriff's Office responded to the scene after midnight following a chilling 911 call that they got from the teenager himself, who identified himself as Trevor Lee. Sheriff Michelle Cooke said that Trevor Lee called authorities, he called 911 to report that, hey, I just shot my mom and my dad, and I want to surrender myself at the local church. The deputies quickly located him and took him into custody without incident. I'll pause before I go further with the information by saying this too. Some of us are raising some psycho kids and don't even know it, right? Because because the way how we were raised, like we were deprived of a lot of things, or because we would get koof, cuff, quiff, boof, buff. If y'all don't know what that means, it means you get a holy paras lick under your skin, you get beatings. And we told ourselves that we would never do these things to our children. So our children grow up unchecked. Our children grow up without a healthy dose of fear for authority. See, when we were growing up, my grandparents didn't even have to hit me. I feared them so much that I thought that some things were just off limits to even think about. Like if I had a dream about it, they probably would kill me, like literally have a funeral for me. So disrespecting them, talking back to them while they were trying to talk to me, walking away from them while they were talking to me, rolling my eyes, chupsing, or what we call kissing my teeth, walking away from them and slamming a door, using profanity in their presence. The list goes on and on. We would never think of doing these things. We said to ourselves, I'm not going to raise my child like that. I'm going to raise my child to speak their mind, whatever they think. And now we have children that argue back with us and challenge our every word. Our ops live in our house. I'm not going to deprive my child of anything. I'm not going to take away their rights to do this and that. Now we have children that go everywhere, get involved in anything, even a lot of things that they're not supposed to be involved in because it's too early in life to be involved in that already. So we're having children who do not know what no means. So the first time you tell them no, they want to kill you. Right? So we got to be careful of how we're raising these children. So according to the local police department, deputy sheriff said that he called in, he said he killed his two parents and he wanted to come turn himself in and they could pick him up at the local church. This seems pretty level-headed, straight thinking to me. This is not somebody erratic who ran away and hid in bushes and was found out of his right mind, deranged, his eyes bulging from his head. This is somebody that cold-heartedly, calculatingly thought about what he was going to do, did it, and then followed through with, I'm turning myself in. I'm not even going on the run. I don't even want you to pick me up at the house. Pick me up by the church. How he knows that? So the deputies quickly located him, got him into custody without incident. He didn't fight them or anything. So when the deputies arrived at the family's residence near Silver Point and County Road 2220, they discovered two bodies. His father, 44-year-old David Lee, and his mother, who was a year older than his father, 45-year-old Brandy Smith, inside the home. It is said that Brandy Smith is Jamaican. She is of Jamaican heritage. And I don't think Brandy and David Lee were married on paper, but they were parents to this young man and raising him. It is their own child, biological child, right? Maybe they were married, but according to the record, it says she doesn't share his last name, but their son shares the father's last name, but Brandy still is Brandy Smith. So both of the parents had suffered gunshot wounds. Preliminary investigations indicate that the shooting was a result of an argument, according to what the young man had told the police. Him and his parents got into an argument late Sunday night, and this was the result of how he felt about that argument. Sheriff Cooke said that the weapon that was used belongs to the family. And after he did the shooting, he actually left the weapon at the scene with the bodies and went to the church where he asked them to pick him up. Authorities are now diving deeper into Trevor Lee's, the 14-year-old's background. Was he ever diagnosed with any mental conditions? They're looking into the history, his school records. Is he a type of child that gets in trouble at school? Any of his teachers, could they tell if he is a troubled student? Was he a bully? Were there any signs of narcissism or any signs of any sociopathic ways or any indication that he was capable of doing something like this with no remorse? As they work to piece together what actually led to this fatal interaction. No, it is not normal for a child to have an argument with their parents and then end up taking their parents' life. Parents are supposed to be the guardians, the leaders, the ones who spearhead the child's life, give them direction, and establish authority and enforce that authority. Parenting is not easy, and you will be challenged by your own children, especially when they hit teenage years. I tell minds like this: you have one more year. Right now, I have two that are heading off to college in one more year. They're both seniors in high school, and they are asking me, Dad, can I go to a party this weekend at Steve's house? And I'm like, no, I'm not into that. Because at your age, you are one step away from greatness, but you're also one step away from a great tragedy. And I've seen too many stories where high school seniors who are star athletes, who are doing super well, start getting involved in other things in their senior year of high school. And before you know it, they lose their scholarships. They're no longer eligible to even attend a university. They're serving time in prison or they're dead. Just give me that peace of mind of focusing on what it is you're supposed to be doing, so I know that next year when you are walking across that stage, picking up that diploma, we also know that you are committed already to a university somewhere where you will be playing the sport that you love so much, that you've been playing since you were 16, since you were 6 years old. You've already invested over a decade in what you really want to do in life. I'm not about to see you mess that up. And my child, or my children, because it's two of them, they get angry. They ask, they question why everybody else my age group has all that freedom and I'm locked up in the house. Hey man, check this out. My house, my rules. One more year from now, you'll be out there in the world. And after that, you'll only be coming to my house to visit because you will live on campus for school. After that, you will be off in the world paying your own bills. Every bill that you can think of. Everything you need will be paid for by you. You better make sure you are in a position to do so for yourself, because I'm the one that does all that for you now, so you don't feel the pressure. So please don't waste your time trying to be like everybody else now. Half of who you know now will not be there in your life 10 years from now. I'm trying to get these kids to focus, man. But I can see and I can feel the energy, the resentment, the pull. Kind of like Serena and Venus's dad. A black man, strong and present in their lives, that took his two girls to the heights of tennis greatness, made them multi-millionaires on their own, and made even one of them the greatest female tennis player alive that has ever played the game. And they both turn around and have no attraction to black men like their dad. They go for the complete opposite. Resentment. When you try to push these kids to be great, to abide by rules and regulations, you're guiding them, there is going to be resentment. You just don't want it to end violently like this. So, authorities are now delving deeper into his background. They're checking out his mental health history, his school records, all of that. He has been charged. He's been charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. Sheriff Cooke urged anyone with any information that could assist in the investigation to contact the Clay County Sheriff's Office. If you know anything about this case, like, do you know them to be an argumentative family? Do you know them to be a family where the child was abused or anything like that? The investigation remains active and the community is in mourning. They're mourning the devastating loss of 2 lives in what officials are calling one of the most heartbreaking cases that they have ever encountered. And again, yes, the mother is a Jamaican. This story is just baffling to me, man. I mean, it is sad. This is as sad gets. So, as we already said, right, the teenager told the dispatchers that he would wait for them at the church to be arrested. This was according to the sheriff's department. And now, instead of going to high school next week, because school starts back in Florida next week, just like that, time is flying. You know how they say time flies when you're having fun? Time is flying. I can't believe summer 2025 is already come and gone. It's over. The children have 1 more week of school and school starts again. This is why I've been trying to spend so much time with my children, because I can't believe the summer is done. So now, instead of going back to school, Trevor is behind bars at 14 years old. A cousin of Trevor's mom, according to KNS TV news station, a cousin of Trevor's mom said that Trevor was a good kid. He is also a straight A student. What could have driven a good kid, a straight A student, to this? The cousin says, I don't know what caused him to do this, James Lewis said. Trevor's best friend, Kyrie Bamon, is equally shocked. He says he would have never thought that this was possible. Not Trevor. He was funny. He was charismatic. He always brought good energy and good vibes. This is his friend saying this. Trevor was taken into custody and he is now charged with killing both of his parents. And like I said before, the Clay County Sheriff Michelle Cooke says that David Lee, which is the father, and Brandy Smith, which is his Jamaican mom, they were both shot to death just after midnight on Monday. And again, it was over a domestic argument between Trevor and his parents, and this shooting culminated from that argument. What they were arguing about exactly, we don't know. The rundown of the whole situation is like this. According to news reports, 14-year-old Trevor Lee was arrested and charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder on Monday, August 4th of 2025, after calling 911 himself to report that he had shot and killed his parents, David Lee and Brandy Smith, in their Middleburg, Florida home. Here's what happened, or we know about the incident. The victims: David K. Lee, the father, 44 years old. Brandy L. Smith, 45 years old. The Clay County Sheriff's Office reported that Trevor Lee shot the parents, both of them, after a domestic argument the previous night, August 3rd. So he was holding grudges. This might make this even worse for him because this is super premeditated. If they argued on August 3rd and he killed them the night of August 4th, a whole 24 hours later, wow. A straight A student who had good vibes all the time. You see, when I say you never know what's brewing. My grandmother is Jamaican and my grandmother said, When you think is peace and safety is sudden destruction. I want you to say that to yourself again. When you think is peace and safety is sudden destruction, life comes at you hard. The firearm used or believed to be used to have belonged to both parents and was recovered at the scene. Well, I don't think a firearm can belong to both parents because in Florida, once your record is clean, anybody can own a firearm. So the firearm belongs to one of the parents. We can't both put our names. A firearm in the state of Florida is not like a car where you can put your spouse's name on the car and everybody's name is on the car. So the car is jointly owned by everybody or the house. A firearm is singular, but it was owned by one of the parents. Report does not say which parent owned that firearm. I guess that's another lesson, right? If you have firearms in the house, you might want to lock them up in a secured manner to where your 14-year-old cannot access them. But remember, there are also teenagers who are very skilled at getting into things, ways that adults, for some reason, don't see. For the 911 call, it was Lee, the 14-year-old, that called 911 shortly after midnight on August 4th, stating what he had done to both his parents and that he was waiting at the nearby church, Cross Point Church, which is about a mile away from his home. During that call, he stated that he needed to pray and he needed to ask the dispatchers to pray for him as well. He doesn't understand what he has done. He doesn't know why he did it, but he did it, and he needs prayer. He needs them to pray for him, and he needs to go to the church and pray for himself. Damn. I know I'm going to need some of my spiritual people in the comments on this video. Activate your mind and tell me what this tells you. He does not understand why he did what he did. He just did it. And now he's going to the church to pray at midnight with nobody there and asking the police to pick him up at the church, but to also pray with him, for him. Wow. He's 14. They arrested Lee and took him into custody at the church. I can only imagine how they were rushing to the scene where he said he was at. Authorities are investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting, including looking into his mental health, his school history, his family history, friends history. The decision on whether he will be charged as an adult is still pending, even though he is charged with 2 counts so far of murder. They don't know yet if he's going to be charged as an adult. On the family background part, the news report mentioned that Lee's sister, Ayanna Russell, lives in California. So if his name is Lee and his sister's name is Russell, that tells me that he probably either has a sister by his dad's side or he has a mom who has different children by different men, because her last name is Smith. His last name is Lee, just like the man who he took out alongside his mom, which is his dad. But his sister, who lives in California's name is Russell. She lives in California, and she also placed a 911 call regarding the incident. His mother is reportedly a Jamaican. Loved ones have expressed shock. They've described this family as a loving family and said that Lee was a good kid, straight A student. However, here we go. However, records indicate 5 previous calls for service from the authorities to the home, including a suicide threat by Lee in 2021. So, if we're in 2025 and he's 14, in 2021, when he threatened to take his own life, he must have been about 9 or 10 years old. And on record, there are 5 different times that the family has had to reach out to law enforcement. Lee's status. Lee remains in custody at the Duval County Juvenile Center, and his next court date is scheduled for August 13th in Clay County in Florida. Whatever problems happened that led to this are problems that were brewing all along. 5 times they have had to call authorities for help to that house, according to records, according to this report. We're going to stay close to this story. This story means a lot to us. It happened in Florida. We live in Florida. The name of our channel is SouFLoTV, which is short for South Florida with a TV on the end. We are parents ourselves here raising children in Florida. So this is of super interest to us. Plus, the mother is Jamaican in this, and we are Jamaicans living in the U.S. as well. Part 3 of this chilling incident was the dispatch call, the 911 dispatch call, which still sticks out in my mind. We don't have the actual dispatch call yet because it has not been made public yet, but a printout of the dispatch call has been made public. So I will read through the printout for you. I'm super concerned because of what it tells me about this youth's mind. Mind you, he's a child. He's 14. So, according to Action News Jax, in learning new details from the 911 calls that were released from that night, that Clay County deputy says 14-year-old Trevor Lee killed his parents in. He admitted then to killing them. So according to Trevor's arrest report, his father, David Lee, 44 years old, and his mother, Brandy Smith, the Jamaican, who was 45 years old, they were found shot in their bedroom part of the house. And deputies said that there were several spent shell casings in that room, which tells them that he unloaded that weapon and fired a whole lot of rounds in that room. They were already in their room, in their bed, settling in for the evening, possibly getting ready to go to sleep. The Clay County Sheriff's Office shared 2 calls. One was made by Trevor Lee, and one was made by his older sister, Ayanna Russell, who lives in California. It goes as follows. Russell, the sister, told Action News that Monday night that her brother is not a monster. She said, "My brother is not a monster." Both of the calls were heavily redacted, meaning parts were taken out. In the call that Trevor made, he can be heard telling the dispatcher, he said, he needs to pray. "I need to pray." Trevor said, "I'm going to pray. I need to pray." Dispatcher said, "You need to pray?" Trevor said, "Yes, ma'am." Sheriff Michelle Cooke said on Monday that after shooting his parents, Trevor walked to the nearby church and then turned himself in to the deputies. He also asked the dispatcher to pray for him, and they agreed to do so. So, Trevor was on the phone and he said, Ma'am? The dispatcher said, "I'm listening to you, hon." Then Trevor said, "Can you pray?" The dispatcher said, "Go ahead, I'll listen to you." Trevor said, Well, I was asking, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. The dispatcher said, I'll definitely be praying for you, son. After this exchange, other dispatch traffic could be heard on the call, advising crews that were heading to the church, be aware of a possible ambush. Be aware of a possible ambush. Russell stayed on the phone with the dispatch for nearly 20 minutes while the deputies tried to track down her brother. Russell is the sister of Trevor, who lives in California. She stayed on the phone with the dispatchers while they tried to track her brother down. In her call, she could be heard saying, I knew it. I knew we shouldn't have had a fucking gun. I told them. I told them, she said, referring to having a gun in the house with Trevor being the way that he is. Like we said earlier, records show that the family has made at least 5 calls to law enforcement for assistance at that residence where the family resided. I knew it, the sister said. I knew we shouldn't have had a fucking gun. I told them. I told them. Trevor's arrest report said that he was eventually taken into custody without incident in the parking lot of the Cross Point Church. A spokesperson for State Attorney Melissa Nelson's office said that Trevor Lee had a detention hearing Tuesday morning in juvenile court, and he's being held in a juvenile detention facility. We asked if Nelson's office will charge him as an adult, and a spokesperson said this is still an active investigation and that decision has not been made yet. Wow. So the sister obviously knew something. She said, I knew it. I fucking knew it. There has to be more to this. Do not charge him as an adult, one person said. And another person said, he's a black teenage male. Of course, he's going to be tried as an adult. He can't get past that, no matter what happened in the background. He's not white. They're not going to talk about how he was abused, whether it was verbally, emotionally, or whatever else, and what might have triggered him to do this. He's black. And he's a big black teenage boy who looks like an adult by these pictures, so they're probably going to treat him like such. Again, I will reserve my judgment because, I'm a parent out here in the battlefield as well. We just have to follow this one and see. But the sister's words are more telling, piecing together this story piece by piece. I knew it. I knew it. Wow. Was he that volatile that she knew that if they put a gun in the house, that he would use that gun on his parents? Wow. Maybe he needed some other type of help from a longer time ago, and they kept on downplaying it and masking it, and then it exploded in this manner. Jeez. Again, our condolences goes out to this family. Wow.